I don't know whether you could really call this a sense of relief, and I do think it is, to me at least. I don't know how this would come across to like other people, but when you look at, for example, our right wing versus the American right wing, sure, there's like, a set of absolutely crazies, but they are very, very much kept in the political wilderness at arm's length, even to a point where we went through all the stuff that were the conservatives were in the power. You always had like, the really hard right of the party versus the wets, that called the right of the party called them the wets, but those are sort of like, the center right conservatives who still are a big sort of power block in the Conservative Party. And why does that matter? Well, if you have a look at America, it is simple one word. You can break it down to reality, quite frankly. And if you ever want to engage in a conversation with someone, you have to agree at least that you both have a shared reality. Even if you disagree with someone on the right wing, at least if you share the same reality, then you can have conversations. You can actually talk to them. You can actually engage them in constructive, comments and criticism, and actually have a proper conversation. That doesn't happen in America at the moment because, quite frankly, a lot of the right wing have just gone, well, they've completely drunk the Trump Kool-Aid and have gone completely off the rails. So it is at least with some relief that you've had a lot of conservatives look at what has gone on at the Reform conference just last weekend, and they've gone, yeah, I don't want any part of that. Thank you very much. So that is good. That is good on one part, because always remember, as we'll see in a moment, there has been a constant conversation happening on the right that, oh, we need to unite the right. We need to bring these two factions together of like the Reform and the Conservatives together, or else we'll never win. And that's, as we've said, if you split that right-wing vote, they will never win. And they know it. So as long as that divide remains there, as long as that split remains, it is going to cause a constant problem for them during elections. So let's have a look at this, our article in Conservative Home, where they even say, whatever our future is, please, for the love of God, do not let it involve cranks. So for the time being, at least, and I hope this remains the same, that at least on the right wing of like UK politics, sanity for the time being still does reign supreme. Because if you look across the pond, it could be, oh so much worse. So before we do go on getting into this, as always, please do, of course, remember to click the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page, the one of today's link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there is the YouTube membership button down below as well. So thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel that way. And of course, don't forget to click on the like, share, and subscribe button if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel. And of course, don't forget to ring the bell as well so you get notifications of when we go live. Also, now, thank you to YouTube, you've now got to check if your YouTube account has now been in restricted mode or not. So you go to the little top of your screen up here, you click on your little circle, brings down your drop-down menu, and you'll see a little thing that will say options, and you'll see a little thing that will say restricted mode. You want it to be off, not on. YouTube has apparently gone around and turned that on for a load of people and then not told you that that is happening. So please do be aware of that at least. So as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, let's get on into this topic today. So whatever the future of the right, it looks like it shouldn't involve cranks. This, of course, from Conservative Home. Again, I'm at least glad, sanity does at least remain the order of the day. Because, like I say, you look across the pond, it can be so much worse. So, Nigel Farage and Reform UK must at least be quietly relieved that Keir Starmer's government reshuffle at least did suck some of the air out of the Birmingham conference, while Labour has now scrambled to try and patch over yet another ministerial scandal, this time the Housing Secretary Angela Rayner over stamp duty, following the resignation of the Homeless Minister over the recent increases in the City Minister over corruption. The cameras were at least distracted. For Reform, that means now a little less scrutiny as it tried now to showcase itself that it was more than a protest party. And that is what Farage's ultimate aim of that conference was. He even said it so himself. We are not a protest party. We are a party of government. But as I just showed last time, the British public, when you look at the polls, still don't trust Reform on a number of issues. So that's good for the time being. On the surface, it was a very impressive gathering spectacle, with the usual mixture now of professional posh and grassroots zeal. It was more reminiscent of an American rally than the sometimes dour proceedings of a Tory gathering, camp at least in parts, even as the spectator has now illustrated well. Andrea Jenkyns, the former Tory MP turned Reform's Lincolnshire mayor, proved to be one of the more memorable, if not surreal, moments when she stormed out in a glittering jumpsuit, belting out Insomniac, a song that she penned 2 decades ago. Again, wild moment that I didn't even realize she wrote that song herself, but there you go. Yes, of course, it may have been very awkward and indeed embarrassing, but for all the karaoke theatrics, the conference at least drew the kind of crowd, very curious and ordinary, that in itself does suggest that Reform has now at least tapped into some sort of new mood. But then, of course, came the problem that seems to stalk Farage's ventures. The fringe was not fringe enough. And this is the true part of this. This is where it always breaks down sooner or later. We've seen this covering Reform vetting breaks down, doesn't expose these people, so they get into the thing. And what ends up happening, they get quacks, conspiracy theorists, really fringe people with some insane fringe beliefs. And it's not good for their party, as we've covered many times on here. So, for all the talk then of seriousness, the party is now handed its main stage to Dr. Azim Malthora, a man now who is well versed in crankhood, making his name peddling conspiracy theories, and at this time it was even suggesting that the COVID-19 vaccines were linking cancer then in the royal family. Reform's chairman, David Bull, who himself, of course, believes in ghosts, introduced him warmly, telling delegates that Malthora had now written Reform's health policy, more theatre of delusions than a theatre of dreams. And that is incredibly shocking that you've had this guy who has posted some out and out insane, crazy conspiracy theories. Oh, yeah, this guy's penned Reform's health policy. Maybe we'll have a look at that at some point in the future. But, oh boy. The shadow Tory Health Secretary, at least Stuart Andrew, demanded Farage apologise for promoting dangerous disinformation, while Labour's West Streeting accused him of giving a platform now to poisonous lies. Reform's official defence was, of course, hardly even reassuring. Malthora, they said, was, of course, merely a guest speaker with his own opinions and had an advisory role in the US government. Given what's going on over there, and of course, soon to be, of course, JFK's new revelation about what really causes autism, it's going to get a bit weird over there in a bit. I can guarantee you that. So they continued and said, Reform UK does, not, of course, not endorse what he said, but does believe in free speech. But the obvious question now lingers. If you do not endorse his views, why did you place him on your main stage? Why risk association with quackery? This is it. You can believe in free speech all you want, but if you give people that stage to air their views, their talking points, especially on a main stage, then that then goes, well, why did you platform them? Why did you give them that space? And why are you now associating with people who have those views? Free speech is not like the ultimate win-all argument that Reform UK people really think it is. So let's continue on this. This, of course, was not just a sideshow. Reform UK is, of course, trying to convince voters it is ready for power. Yet, it is now decision to include cranks completely undermines that message. If the party cannot distinguish between energy and can't even say it, eccentricities, its credibility then collapses before it is even near government. And there were, of course, a number of former Tory MPs at the conference, including spottings of Jonathan Gillis, Gary Sambrook, Nicola Richards, alongside recent defector Nadine Dorris. But one of the most well-known will have been Jacob Rees-Mogg. And this is still the case. There is still rumours going around. Will Mogg defect to Reform UK? No one really knows yet. But the fact that he was at this conference is very interesting, and you will see why in a moment. So his own daughter Mary has made the move over to Reform. I didn't know that until this, so that's interesting. But of course, the former MP and Brexit minister does maintain that when I am gathered to the maker on my tombstone, it will say here lies a Tory. If Reform's chairman is now to be believed, at least he is able to communicate the good Conservative word from the grave. The main message, it seemed, from Rees-Mogg he wanted to communicate was his desire to bring the right together, saying, I think the right needs to reunite. I think Conservatives and Reform need to come together, he said. And this, once again, is the main message that people like Mogg want to try and bring together. This split that they know that so long as it exists means that the right cannot come to power means two things. Either A, there has to be some sort of reunification, meaning there is only one right-wing party, or when the time comes, there is coalition. And this is something we have to watch as well. So this is, of course, is not an uncommon opinion, including now within Westminster. Shadow Justice Secretary and, of course, one-time leadership contender Robert Jenrick was, of course, once caught saying he was determined to bring this coalition together in leaked comments, but, of course, went out to rule a Tory pact. Allies of Jenrick at the time argued these comments were intended about voters rather than parties. There is still those who, of course, want to see the talents of the right now all come together. Farage, of course, may not want a pact. Dorris's words might suggest that this is not even an option, with her saying the Conservative Party is dead. And Reform's newest member now declares, why would you do business with a dead party? Many Tories, of course, wouldn't stomach it anyway. As Dorris's defection was announced, former MPs on a 2019-2024 WhatsApp group then messaged saying, I dare say that a fair few of us who couldn't put our hand on our hearts to say that we hadn't thought about reform, but this kind of stuff helps put that crazy idea to bed. So I kind of like this, and this is interesting that you have former MPs turn around and saying, well, I was thinking about reform, but now that Nadine Dorris has joined it, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure anymore. I do like that Dorris is such a toxin, such a poison. She has turned away potential defectors. That is kind of hilarious on that front. Anyway, let's finish this off. The party's, of course, policy did illustrate its issues now with a series of U-turns during its just 48-hour conference. Farage claimed he would stop the boats within 2 weeks of taking office, was then hastily rephrased to mean 2 weeks then of legislation. This would be an entirely different proposition. Richard Tice, the deputy leader and even potential would-be chancellor, hinted that their 90 billion tax-cutting plan may not even be viable after all. And on education, there was nothing. No speech, no focus panel. I noticed they're not even bringing up the thing where Lee Anderson and George Finch were and the crazy stuff that was said on that panel. We've covered that. I'm surprised they're not bringing up here. It should be. Anyway, For all their woes, the Conservatives know that the grind, of course, of the grind of government. They know that education matters, economic policy cannot be built on wishful thinking, and that placing conspiracy theories on a platform is probably not the best idea. Reform, by contrast, seems now to be hooked on the spectacle. The Tories, of course, need to learn that it is not without force, however, that reform now has energy and a sense of narrative. The party tells a story in a way that the Conservatives have now largely neglected. Its conference, of course, attracted ordinary people at a time where the Tories are now worrying about their own MPs turning up. And that'll be very interesting to learn in a couple of weeks' time how many Tory MPs turned up to their own conference. But if the future, of course, is of the right is now to be found in a new political configuration, it must be built on at least coherence rather than noise. The right may very well evolve, but at the heart of this should be the business of governing, not hinge on ghosts, glitter, and quack doctors. So, again, I do not agree with this person, probably on most of their political views, but at least it is some sort of encouraging here. Very, very encouraging that sensibility and sensibleness and not running off into insane, crazy conspiracy theories seems to at least for now, still be the order of the day on the right. And for that, we can at least be somewhat thankful. We can generally be at least somewhat thankful of that, to be honest. But as always, let me know what you think down below. Do you think the Tories will resist this forever, or do you think eventually they will give in and that they too may go the way of the Republican Party in America? Be very interested to hear what you guys have to say on that. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.